really creating something that's never been done before.
Here's the one thing you gotta know about Mars. The guy just loves to build. When he was 11 years old, Mars was the only kid on the block building amusement park models in his attic. After a short stint at IBM in Bentanharbour, Michigan, and Munich, Germany, designing internet-connected home appliances and cars for companies including Whirlpool, BMW, and Allstate, Mars started his own industrial engineering consulting firm and is now building a smart city.
When I was little, I used to, we had this Connects thing. I don't know if it's even around anymore. I used to build in my attic when I was maybe 11, 12 years old, these huge, life-size roller coasters and amusement park items, 5-foot-tall Connects. It had little motors that would drive the carts. It was really cool. I had a roller coaster. I had a pirate ship. I had a carousel. It was really fun. My parents made me stop doing it, but I think from there I learned about my love of just building things, creating, and that probably is something that as a kid relates a lot to what I've ended up doing later.
Why'd your parents make you stop doing it?
They wanted me to be normal. I think it was a little weird. Thinking back on it, it probably was.
Right, so you're in high school, you know you're good at math, you like building, you don't really know what yet, but that's what you're good at and that's what you like.
Exactly.
So after high school, you went to NYU.
Mm-hmm.
You started NYU.
NYU, Gallatin, very liberal arts creative school. Definitely not what I was looking for. I don't really know how I ended up there, but I just knew I needed to transfer out.
So you say, you know what, I'm gonna go to Northwestern.
So I went with no one. I was totally alone, which is a theme throughout a lot of the things I did.
Okay, so you're Northwestern
Engineering school.
Engineering school.
Mm-hmm.
So when do you decide that you want to do engineering?
So I settled on industrial engineering later in my junior year. Really, really interesting major. Not many people know what it is.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's basically, I consider it a blend of business and engineering. I saw that a lot of kids were graduating with really cool jobs from that major, and that's kind of why I chose it. And it had, again, a nice blend of everything I was trying to do. It had the business aspect, what we learned from the community and that entrepreneurship, and it also had some of that math and engineering in it.
Did you have an idea of after college, I'm going to go work here?
I still didn't. I was sort of interviewing at a bunch of different companies, and I ended up getting 2 job offers out of the 10 that I had. One of them was IBM, and one was this company called Accenture. They're both consulting companies.
Okay.
Technology consulting companies. So they sort of fit.
You take the IBM job, and the IBM job is in New York.
Right. It started in New York.
You come back home.
Come back home. My family thought at that point, now I'm done traveling. I did my 2 years Chicago. I'm back in New York. Here's where it ends.
Right. Little did they know.
Yeah.
8 months later.
IBM said, okay, it's time for you to get on a traveling job. Typically, consulting companies send everybody out to their client offices, wherever it is in the country.
So for 10 months, you're waking up Monday morning, going to Michigan, Thursday night, coming back to New York every single week.
Every week.
What was your day-to-day when you're going from New York to Michigan?
So it was a really cool job over there. We consulted for a company called Whirlpool. They're the largest manufacturer of home appliances in the country. They make washing machines, dryers, refrigerators, ovens. Probably everyone listening has some sort of appliance from Whirlpool. They wanted to make all of their appliances smart. So they wanted to connect everything so you can control from an app. As well as collect all the data. So imagine for an oven, it makes a lot of sense that you preheat it before you come home, right? It's a use case. I think today, everyone's yeah, obviously. I mean, you think of Nest, everyone knows what Nest is, but think about this was 5-6 years ago. It was really just starting, and Whirlpool was facing a lot of pressure from the competition in the world. Samsung had put out a smart oven and smart refrigerator. So they were feeling a lot of pressure to make their home appliances smart, which was a necessary move for them. And they had hired IBM to do it, and I was just part of the 20-person team that IBM used to send to create that app.
Okay, so now you do that for 10 months. And then you keep working at IBM in a different location,
Yeah.
which was Munich.
Yeah. While I was in Michigan, my supervisor, who was not there, he was in the New York office, he hit me up with this opportunity. He says, listen, IBM is building a new headquarters in Munich, Germany. They had an entire, it was called the Highlight Towers. They were the highest building in the entire city of Munich. They were sourcing the best and the brightest from all over. It was supposed to be an international sort of showroom for all their clients. So they would be bringing companies from Japan, from the Middle East, all over Europe, from North America to come in and basically learn more about what is IoT. So IoT is the Internet of Things. It's exactly at Whirlpool what I was doing when you're making things to be smart. Anything. It could be a table, right? It could be chairs, anything smart.
Right.
And they created a whole team and brand around it that was located in Munich. So they gave me this opportunity. They said, you have 2 weeks to decide, do you want the job there?
So during those 2 weeks, you're thinking about it. Were you nervous to just move, like pick up and move to Germany? I know that you were alone in Michigan, you were alone in Northwestern, but now you're in Munich,
Yeah.
Germany. It's not.
It was different. I was nervous. My friends and family wouldn't know it because I wouldn't, exude that. But I definitely was nervous. This was another level of.
Yeah.
It's a different level than the other two.
Yeah, but you did it.
Uh-huh.
So you decided, I'm going.
Yeah, I packed one luggage and I just went. I didn't have an apartment. I didn't have anything. The company had offered to put me up at a hotel for a few months until I had found an apartment on my own. But obviously I didn't know the language. I didn't know what level of English is going to be spoken on the other side. Munich is not Berlin. If most people are familiar with Berlin, it's a more international city, English speaking. Munich is on the opposite side of the country, and it's much more traditional. Imagine like Berlin is New York, and Munich is like the Texas of Germany. That's what it was. Very traditional. They wear the garbs, the lederhosen garbs sometimes.
Okay, so during that year that you're in Munich, what are you working on there?
Really amazing stuff. The office is located next door to BMW, right? BMW is a German car company headquartered in Munich. It's actually a reason IBM built there is because they have a relationship with them and they wanted to be located next door. So we did, for example, one project with them where we were exploring the possibility of automating and getting more artificial intelligence into their factory so that they could optimize the factory production process. They could add a little bit more intelligence to do things like identify a defect of a car before it goes out to production.
So after 10 months in Munich, you head back to the States.
I kind of know I'm ready to come home, maybe start my own thing. I felt like I learned so much over that whole journey through college and then Michigan and then Germany. I learned so much. I wanted to take a lot of that and try to start something of my own. So I kind of thought, I'm in this position where I kind of know things that is very ahead of the game. I knew it was very clear the world is heading in that direction. I could have been in this central showroom for something that the world was going towards in the next few years, and it was going to hit everybody like a truck back in New York, especially all these businesses, these wholesale businesses, consumer product businesses, everyone's selling stuff. And I was confident in myself because I wasn't only selling the technology, I was actually building it in a lot of cases. I was, getting in the weeds and writing some code, so I sort of had that confidence that I could, do this on any level.
So now you come home, your parents are praying that this is it.
They're still praying.
And now you decide, I'm ready to start something on my own.
I was actually approached, I had a conversation with a very successful seller of a home appliance. I'm not going to mention exactly what it was, but imagine it's something similar to like a coffee machine. It's an appliance on your kitchen counter that gets plugged in, and he knew about this whole idea of smart because he was facing pressure from, I think, a lot of competition, a lot of people that are doing it in the space of connecting that machine to an app.
Right.
today we all are familiar with the concept, right? But imagine, years ago. And I told him, I think I know exactly what to do here. I know where to start, the teams to hire, the money to spend and where to spend it, and how to actually get to an end product, right? I mean, there's a lot of pieces that need to be played here. You have to not only develop an app, you have to develop basically a chip that'll go inside the machine, and then you have to work with China in your factory to get that chip integrated in. You have to write code for the chip, you have to connect the chip to the app, you have to create a web interface for the business. There's a lot of different parts,
right.
but I dove in, I said, let's get started. So from bringing him on as my client number one, you could say.
As your independent consultant.
Yeah, it started as a consultant arrangement. I agreed to do really all the work for a certain fixed cost. I had hired 3 or 4 engineers, took on one co-founder who was also an engineer, A.B. Cohen. Shout out to him, amazing guy. He's more of like a hardware engineer. I brought some more of the software engineering. We hired a couple mobil developers. We contracted some development agencies in India and in China, and we just put it all together, and we created this product. We had launched it in CES January 2020, and it won a nice innovation award. So that was cool. Yeah, that was cool. And from there, we took on another client and another.
And what were those products?
Similar type things. So one was for a pet company. They develop all different pet products. So
this was the cat litter box?
Yeah, cat litter box for a large consumer product company. They're the largest seller of cat litter in the country, and they thought, what if we create a box that is smart, so like you can get data of when your cat is entering and exiting and how much he's going. It sounds like, okay, well, that's cool, but what is it going to actually provide? But if anyone owns a cat, or really just a pet owner in general, this data is super valuable and very important to understand in terms of like the health, or just in terms of the consumption of the food, or like for imagine like a dog food bowl that could auto replenish itself and auto reorder food when the levels were low. These are the kind of value we're trying to ultimately pass off to the end customer.
How big is your team, like between contractors and?
We're about like 5 people full-time, and then we had a bunch of part-time designers and other coders outsourced.
And your company was called Connected Copper.
Yeah. The idea of connecting and copper is because we're really building the hardware. We had a whole lab, really in the true sense of that word, in my office.
This was 2018?
About. Yeah.
So 2018, you have how many clients?
It's really only 3 at this point. I mean, these projects are so huge. The model is a little bit more about like focus on a small client base, and then just see where that takes you.
Right. Okay, so where did it take you?
So I want to say end of 2019, I was approached by someone in the community in the real estate space who was thinking a lot larger. Instead of just consumer products, he's thinking more about creating a smart city. So instead of making something that you could just touch and feel in your home smart, like an appliance, why can't an entire city be smart, right? Why can't the street grids be optimized, the traffic lights be much smarter than they are today, the parking spaces be a little bit more automated and
right.
Sent to your app in real time when its parking space is open, the buildings communicating with each other, the buildings all completely automated, touchless access, opening via apps. I mean, this is where he was thinking. So it was a huge idea. And I jumped on board with him basically as a partner.
Up until that point, Connected Copper is consulting on mostly home appliances.
Right. we had delivered and completed most of those projects we started with. So we were at that junction point where it's like, should we scale and grow to 10 clients, 20 clients? We weren't profitable for a year or two. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We were really just covering our costs and just learning throughout that experience. And then when this opportunity came, it felt too great. And I said, I have all this knowledge from Connected Copper. We completed our first batch of projects. Let me take this next leap, because this topic, smart city, is something that had come up in my, conversations way back at the IBM days, and I know it's going to be something really big.
Like, I don't know anyone that ever built a city before.
It's a tall order. It's extremely entrepreneurial in the sense of, like, we're really creating something that's never been done before. And we're packaging them up. I mean, traditionally, when you think of building like just one building or one park, they're done in isolation, right? A city creates one, and then 100 years later creates another, and then 50 years later creates another element, and then all together they make a city. But nobody ever actually thought about what's going to be the combination of these three elements together. From the start. They just sort of pop up randomly, and if you think about transportation like a train, nobody designs a city with in mind really of where the transportation routes are going to be. It's kind of like, here's the city as it is, here's the water, the reservoir, the river, and let's just smack a train there, right? And hope that it works. But then you have whole pockets of areas that are not able to commute to the train. So we're thinking a little bit on the planning level and planning the city from the start, which has never been done before, where you plan all elements together, considering the latest innovation in technology and what it could bring to a city.
So take me through a day of, if I was going to live in this city and I wake up in the morning till I go to sleep, what's different between my day in Manhattan and in this smart city?
Well, you wake up and your entire home is smart. That's off the bat. You just move in to the apartment and it's already hooked up all for you. So your coffee is being brewed while you're sleeping. Your shades are opening up so that the sunlight gives you the optimal light for your body to wake up. Your transportation, your app will inform you what the weather is and therefore what mode of transportation you should use to get to work.
Then you get to your office. Yeah, it's all smart.
The office is completely smart. I mean, you want to book a showroom, and the office has intelligence to understand which rooms are occupied and which is open for you to use. You have touchless access, so you don't need to fumble for your keys or your fob. You just sort of wave your hand or your eyes and you get right into the building.
How far along are you?
So we're about almost a year in.
How long is it going to take?
This is a 10-year play. It's a 10-year play.
Would you do anything differently in the career path?
I might have even worked, I would have worked longer at my job at IBM, I think. I think I prematurely left, but that corporate experience, I think, was invaluable. It's something I think every college graduate should do.
What do you attribute your success to?
I was given advice. It was interesting, actually. The CEO of IBM, one line that she said that resonated with me was, growth and comfort don't coexist. And I really took that to heart. And what it means is that when you're in uncomfortable situations, you should embrace them and you shouldn't run away from it. So if you're in a new place or you're in a room with new people, you should actually don't run away like a lot of people do. See what's out there, see what it's about, learn something new, and that's, I think, what I actually did by moving away. By reinventing myself after every cycle. That's the right way, I think, to grow.